National College Football Roundup. Ted, the 2025 SEC scheduled, it was announced. I thought the timing was a bit strange,
I did too.
but conference comes out and announces that sticking with the 8-game conference schedule in 2025, now you have to play a major non-conference game, meaning you got to play a team from the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, or a major independent. But they're just flipping the home and away games from the 2024 schedule. What was your initial reaction when they made this announcement?
Well, I guess I was surprised. There's a couple of things, we knew that the 8-game schedule was going to continue. We had heard that recently. And we knew that in 4 years you were going to play every team in the conference. What we didn't really know is, were they just going to take this year's schedule and flip the home and away, or are you going to get a whole new group and then switch back? We didn't know that. So I guess the biggest surprise was the timing of it. And I guess disappointed isn't the right word. I guess I was just maybe the thought of seeing a totally different group of teams in 25 was kind of appealing, but I mean, the schedule's still awesome. So, I mean, I don't have really any complaints. I guess with all of the unknowns, we got really the least exciting, schedule of all of the unknowns that we had, but really, I guess it was the most likely.
I was surprised, and the main reason why, I don't know, just felt a little boring. I don't know if that's the right word, but I thought one of the big advantages of having a super conference, right? That's what the SEC is. I thought one of the big advantages was going to be that you can get really creative with the scheduling and also have fun with the scheduling, including a schedule release. I thought the SEC, I thought the schedule release and just the scheduling in general is going to be more like the National Football League. The NFL, they have done an incredible job at making every little thing throughout the calendar feel big. And this felt small. It just didn't feel like, it didn't have the gravity that I thought it would have surrounding it. Right? Remember the big schedule reveal they did for the 2024 schedule, where, I mean, we went to Rudy's in Norman and we did a show about the schedule.
Yeah.
They revealed it. We reacted to it. It felt big. This did not. This felt like they went, hey, this is the easiest way to do it. Here we go. Here it is. And
Did
then you
we
release it
know?
during March Madness.
Yeah, that's kind of the weird thing.
Just got buried.
Did we know the opponents whenever they did the final date release at that point, or no?
We knew the opponents. We
When did
didn't
we
know what the order was.
Right. When did we find out the opponents?
I don't remember.
Is that,
Or did we
I
find
don't.
out the opponents when they released the dates?
I
I
think
feel like we found out the opponents when they released the dates. I don't know, man.
I can't
I've got a
remember. I feel
terrible
like
memory.
maybe we found out a little bit before, but not way before.
Remember,
Like
a
maybe
few
it was
things were
started to
being
leak.
leaked.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Like the
yeah.
Tennessee thing got leaked, Bama got leaked, but I don't think we knew everyone, did we?
I don't think so. Someone just started releasing the big ones, but I mean the dates, you can still do the scheduling release on the dates, but I don't it's weird. I don't know.
And maybe they do. I assume they're going to have a this is the exact schedule type schedule
Right.
show. But I don't know the timing. The timing is the thing that really threw me off. It,
I agree.
it is. It's late March, man. It's college basketball time. What are we doing?
Strange. Hmm.
When when you look at OU's schedule, the non-conference, you talk about the one major game, Michigan and Norman. That's going to be so cool.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
September 6th. Your home SEC games, remember, it's just flipped. So you're going to have Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss, and Missouri at home. And then your away SEC games. Oh, boy. Get ready, man, because you're going to Bryant Denny in Tuscaloosa. You're going to Williams-Brice in South Carolina, and you're going to Neyland in Knoxville. And, of course, you got Texas and Dallas. Those are three places that I've never been. But from what I understand, Williams-Brice and Neyland, especially, like those places breathe fire. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be, dude. 2025 is gonna be fun. I'm not saying I'm not excited about the schedule. I am. I just think the release and the lack of creativity
yeah.
and the build, like the lack of build up around. I don't know. I thought it was odd.
Don't waste great content whenever you've got it, right?
Yeah,
It's like it was like a hidden news dump, which is like anti SEC. Like, hey, I can even understand if there's all the basketball talk and spring football's about to start up and you want to get the conversation going about spring football, but you could even have done it a little bit better timing and a little more dramatically, I guess, just to start to leak some of those details out. I don't know, but uh, the schedule next year, though, is going to be amazing. I mean, you have home games against Michigan, Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss, and Missouri, and you're going on the road for Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee. I mean, this year's schedule is the best schedule we've had in I don't know how long, maybe
ever.
as long as I've ever been covering or affiliated with Oklahoma football. And next year's schedule is better.
The question is, what's the schedule look like the year after that? Or maybe the question is, they released this 2025 schedule, but is there a little asterisk that said, hey, subject to change?
Yeah.
Because everything going on in the ACC, it makes me wonder, is the way that the SEC, the members of it, is it going to look different when 2025 rolls around? Because we've talked about the legal battle that Florida State and the ACC are already in. Well, the Clemson Tigers have joined the party. They are suing the ACC. The ACC has sued them back. Clemson wants out of the grant of rights. They don't want to have to pay the exit fee. We know that Florida State has made a similar argument. Ted, it's never good when the flagship schools in your conference are suing you and you're suing them back. I would say that's not the recipe for a great relationship and does not bring the conference stability.
No, it really doesn't. And I don't know, the Notre Dame got some assurances uh in the expanded playoff agreement that they've all come to. I don't exactly know what they are, but I, there had to have been a little bit of hope that the ACC was like, maybe this is our chance to get Notre Dame to lock into our conference. That didn't happen, and now you've got Clemson and Florida State uh, coming after you legally. It feels like on the brink, right?
Oh, the ACC feels like it is on the verge of just absolutely collapsing. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I do think it's interesting that Clemson, especially, is saying, hey, yeah, the contract that we signed that says if we leave, you get all the revenue to our home games. Yeah, no. That's not how this works. That's what you signed. That's where it is. It feels like a slippery slope for everyone involved. If you can just get out of contracts like this, what prevents any team from saying, you know what? It it looks more fun over there. We're going to go over there. I know we signed that contract that says we can't do that, but we're going to go. See ya.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And reminder, the ACC grant of rights not up until 2036. So I I understand why Florida State and Clemson won out. Right? They don't want to fall behind. They they won out for the same reason that OU's leadership said, "Hey, we need to get out of here before we feel this
Too
feeling."
late. Yeah.
And that's the feeling that Florida State and Clemson and hey, North Carolina, they're the head or the chair of the board of trustees came out and had some interesting quotes, basically saying that it feels like the ACC is representing the bottom tier of the membership at the expense of the top tier. He did everything but say, hey, yeah, we are on Florida State and Clemson's side on this.
Well, you go back a long ways, and whenever all of the Oklahoma, Texas stuff started going, and there was conversation about what's going to happen with the ACC, who would the SEC want out of the ACC? And the names were interesting. It was Florida State and Clemson, which you would always say, yeah, that makes sense. But the other names were North Carolina and I want to say Virginia. And at first it's
Flagship
like,
large schools.
yeah, well, why those? Well, those are big population areas where the SEC has, like, those are big television market areas. They've got no exposure there. They've already got exposure in Florida, and they've got exposure around the southern part of the ACC. They don't have television exposure in North Carolina and Virginia. So those are interesting ones, but I don't know what's going to happen. Like, if people thought that college football has changed an incredible amount from like COVID until now with the transfer portal, with NIL, with conference realignment, you ain't seen nothing yet. It's about to change in a whole bunch of more dramatic ways than it already has. And when do we get that final product to where we can say, okay, this is our new layout, our new format. This is what we have moving forward. I don't know when we get to that, but it's going to keep changing.
The revenue gap is clearly a huge driver here with what's going on in the ACC. The SEC and the Big Ten is just, that gap is growing and growing and growing between them and everyone else. And I think Florida State and Clemson and even North Carolina look at it and go, this is unsustainable. We cannot compete as this gap grows year after year after year with the conference TV deals and with the new college football playoff TV deal. And I don't know how players eventually becoming some type of employee factors into all that, but I know this. If you're making more money and you got to pay the players, you'd rather have more money so you can pay the players.
I mean, what's the potential gap? 40, 50 million? Once they
Yeah,
get into the new playoff and yet the SEC's new media deal comes out, it was supposed to be somewhere around 70 million per team, right?
it
And then
is. Yeah, it is. It puts you at a massive competitive disadvantage to not be in the
and
SEC or the Big Ten.
yeah, and you've got just their standard conference payouts and then the new playoff deal where they're getting more money in the playoff situation. It's unsustainable for anyone that wants to be a competitive team that's not in the Big Ten. It's almost going to be impossible to fall behind 50 million a year. Like, how do you make up the ground with the payroll stuff that's coming? I don't know. You can't. That's why they're going to court, right?
The real winners, we can never forget the real winners in all of this are the lawyers representing both sides. Congrats to you, lawyers. I mean, the billable hours for this bad boy, it just got to be fantastic.
You think watching college football is a billable hour if you're just trying to we got to figure out the layout of the land here.
Yeah, so I spent 100 hours this week watching Florida State to get a better understanding. I'll bill you for that, but no, I this it's going to be a really interesting legal battle, and I don't know how quickly it's going to move, but you've got the private equity piece that Florida State has talked about publicly. I don't know. This thing's extremely interesting, but ultimately, I'm most interested in how it affects OU football. That's that's our whole thing on here. Could we see that 2025 schedule change? I don't know. Or is it a thing where it's not happening until 2026, where they're going to go to a 9-game conference schedule with the addition of one or two teams from the ACC.
Well, maybe that's the reason you put that out now is because the speculation is going to be ramping up big time that in 26, like they're not joining us in 25. Here's our schedule. Maybe they're joining us in 26. I don't know.
Yeah, that was my initial thought was, oh, that's a boring 2025 schedule. Maybe they just did that because they didn't want to put the necessary time in because they know more people are coming to the conference.
Yeah.
That was kind of my tinfoil hat theory
This will get
of,
them off our backs for a while.
yeah, I we'll see. All right, let's